Okay, it's time to start. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Kansai Gakuin online SDGs program. From today, the presentation by each team will start. 15 minutes is given for presentation, and 5 minutes is given for the discussion. And if you have a question or comment, please use the chat. After the presentation, the presenter checks the chat and asks you a question or comment. Okay, then today's first speaker is Donghai University team, and the title of their talk is High Energy Density Supercapacitor using graphene-coated electrodes and the factors influencing plant microbial fuel cells. And if we are all right, please start.
Okay, let me try to share my screen. Okay, so from this, can you start to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. So good afternoon, professors and other representatives. We are from Donghai University, located in Taichung, Taiwan. And in this opportunity, we are going to present you briefly about our senior project that is related to sustainable energy. And my project will be related to supercapacitors, and my friend's project will be related to plant microbiofuel cells. And for my project itself, the title is basically high energy density supercapacitors using this carbon nanotube coated electrodes. And in this presentation, I am going to discuss several topics, which is firstly, I'm going to tell you common energy storage use in nowadays, and then a brief introduction about the supercapacitor itself and why supercapacitor is vital and the purpose of my project, the proposed methods I'm going to do, and some documentations about my projects. So apart from the high technology and rapid development, we are still facing storage issues when it comes to energy. The most recognized energy storage today is obviously lithium-ion batteries, or we commonly known as rechargeable batteries. And this is the kind of energy storage we used in our phones, our computers, our laptops, and many other daily devices. But battery has its own limitation, that is, it takes time to fully recharge the devices, approximately maybe 10 until 60 minutes. And on the other hand, normal capacitors, which is on the right side, they have the capabilities to generate large amount of energy instantaneously, and I'm talking about seconds, but the down part is that it can only store a tiny amount of energy. And this is where supercapacitor comes in between to conquer both issues. For a brief introduction, supercapacitor is basically an electrical energy storage that can accommodate large amount of energy, which is about 10 to 100 times more energy compared to normal capacitors. And it is known to be the bridge between the batteries and normal capacitors, as it has high energy density, which means it can store a large amount of energy, as well as it has high power density, which simply means it can generate a large amount of energy in one time. And why am I choosing supercapacitor? What makes supercapacitor worth a talk and a development? And the main reason is because I see a potential from the development of supercapacitor itself and how it can possibly solve many sustainability issues. And firstly, it has an excellent energy storage ability, which means it widens the application by being able to power many devices. And combined with the fast charging and discharging disability, it supports devices that require high-speed charging to be able to operate. And moreover, supercapacitor manages to have a lifespan ranging from 100,000 up to 1 million charging cycles, which means it is 100 until 200 times more compared to lithium-ion batteries. And considering the key drawbacks of the batteries we usually use, supercapacitor has a huge potential to conquer several sustainability aspects, such as preserving raw materials to make new devices, and it also has can increase energy efficiency, as well as the materials being less hazardous compared to lithium used in batteries. But as much as a supercapacitor can store energy, the energy capacity usually cannot equalize the amount of energy that a battery can store, which is basically the main limitation of supercapacitor. And this is why I decided to propose carbon nanotubes, or we usually call it CNT, which is a one-dimension carbon material to be coated to the electrodes of my supercapacitor. And with the special properties of carbon nanotubes, I expect that it will increase the amount of electrons stored in the supercapacitor in order to boost the energy density, and later being able to conquer many sustainability aspects I have mentioned before. For the method of the project itself, I propose two different methods to compare and observe the efficiency of the carbon nanotubes existence. The first one being supercapacitors with electrodes that are not coated. And in this case, I use zinc tin oxide, or ZTO, as the cathode, and activated carbons as the anode. And the picture on the right side is a pristine zinc tin oxide that I have synthesized in the lab. And the second method I want to propose is carbon nanotubes to be coated to both of the electrodes to later be observed the efficiency. And as I mentioned before, I use zinc tin oxide for the cathode. And the reason why I choose zinc tin oxide is because of its several advantages. Firstly, most of the zinc-based ternary compounds, such as zinc manganese oxide or zinc tin oxide and the others, they are low-cost pseudo-capacitive materials. And secondly, it can provide better performance compared to single-component metal oxide. And among all the other zinc-based ternary compounds, the ZTO itself has its own advantage, which is it being a perovskite type semiconductor that has attractive physical and chemical characteristics. And also it has high visible transmittance and electron mobility and abundant sources on Earth. And the last thing is, of course, it's a cheap material. And why do I use activated carbon for the anode, as I mentioned before here? It's basically because carbon-based materials, they are mostly used and studied for supercapacitors owing to their high specific surface areas and desirable electrochemical stabilities and often porosity to electrolyte ions. And for this side, these are some pictures of my work in the lab until today. And so far, I have succeeded to synthesize the zinc tin oxide. And the picture on the very left is the result of zinc tin oxide while it just finished of being centrifuged. And later, I separated the unused water, which is shown in the second picture. And the last picture on the very right side is basically the result of the pristine zinc tin oxide. And later, I'm also going to make a zinc tin oxide that is coated with CNT as I told you with the second proposed method. And here's also a result of my XRD result of the zinc tin oxide, with the green line represents the peaks of my pristine zinc tin oxide, and the blue line represents the peaks of the ZTO based on the database. And the yellow line represents the peaks of the aluminum substrate, which I used in the XRD. And yeah, that's a brief introduction about my project. And I'm going to pass it now to my colleague, Ricky, to introduce his project.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. Hello, everyone. I'm Ricky, and I'm a senior student from Donghai Sustainability Science and Engineering program. Today, I'm glad to talk about the topic on plants microbial fuel cells and sharing with the ideas on my research entitled Factors Influencing Electricity Generated on Plants Microbial fuel cells and its impact on chlorophyll. Hope you like this. And in today's presentation, I will first introduce what is the plants microbial cells, and next two sections will talk about the factors influence the plants microbial cells power generation. Then going to the next step on analyze the chlorophyll, and in the end is my expect for researching and the ideas of future work. So first one is the plants microbial cells. The principle is based on the electrochemically active bacteria to decompose the organic compounds. And as we know, by the photosynthesis reactions, the plants will store the glucose around the roots. And that's the EAB, the electrochemically active bacteria in the soil will decompose the glucose and release the electron to the anode. And in the plants microbial cells systems, the yeast can be a catalyst to assist EAB decomposition, and that can increase the efficiencies on plants microbial cells operations. And this is I want to research the relationship between the yeast and PFC. And from here, I will talk about my research experiments and the purpose. The first session is by test the different watering and sunlight observed amounts. And these are the two important factors affect the photosynthesis and PFC electricity generated. And here we can see I have 5 experiment parts and 1 of the controlling part. And we can compare with each other, and that we can know the plants, how to influence and also let those factors impact. And next, following with the schedule, I will record the current and the voltage every day in months, and which can find the best condition for the PFC power generation. And next factors is regarded with the yeast. As I know, the yeast have many advantages for planting, like to anti-disease, promote the root growth, and so on. And also, it can be a catalyst for plants microbial cells. So, following with the step of using a dry yeast powder, and we can make the yeast solution and directly using on my experiments. And also, following with the schedule, recording the current and voltage. That's by this researching and comparing with previous sections, the watering and sunlight is one, and can be figured out its impact on plants microbial cells electricity generated. And according the PFC is associated with the electron transformation, and maybe it will impact the photosynthesis reactions and going to affect the chlorophyll composing. So I will keep in with the previous conditions and connect with the parts and the light bulbs 24 hours during a week or 2 weeks, and eventually it analyze the chlorophyll concentration and before and after connect with the light bulbs. And as I know, they have normally divided the chlorophyll in 4 parts: chlorophyll A, B, C, and D. And I will just test the chlorophyll A and B in my experience because they are normally occupying 70% in total. And I think it is enough to showing how are they changing and how are they influenced. And following with the steps of chlorophyll testing and using a spectrometer with a UV and undering with the wavelength of 663 nanometer and 645 nanometer, that I can get the data about the chlorophyll observance. And after I have the data, and I can following with the Beer-Lambert laws, and which can calculate from observance to know the solute concentration, and going to the next formula to know the chlorophyll contents in leaves. And here is the formula I organized it, and that can be more easier to calculate. And loss number in the up section is depend on which wavelengths you are using and compare with the difference constants. And finally, is my expect result for my researching, and I suppose the PFC operation will decrease the chlorophyll contents in the end. And the yeast will not only can be improve the power density and also will keeping the chlorophyll concentration in the end. And after my researching, I will probably can know the factors influencing and choose the most efficient and find the most efficiencies ones and take the balance between the plant growth and power generations. And this I can go into the future works. And in recently, the PFC have been using on many aspects. And here have an example using the plant microbiological cells provide the energy and connect with the sensor and also use the technique of the LoRa and IoT. And it can make the plants controlling the watering by themselves and also can be saving the water. I think it's quite interesting PFC application in the future works. So sharing with the ideas for yours. And this is my presentation today. Thanks for your listening. And it's be welcome to asking the questions and give the advice for me and Rachel. And also you guys can type the words also you guys can type the questions in the chatting area and we will doing our best to answer this. Thanks for your listening.
Okay, thank you very much. And are there any questions? Now the paper is open for discussion. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, then I have two questions. The first question is about the supercapacitor. I don't fully understand, and I'm afraid I missed something, but you used carbon nanotube for the coating of materials. And are there any possible materials which can be used for the coating? So you examined other materials for the coating?
So for coating, is it okay? So for coating, at first I wanted to use the graphene instead of carbon nanotubes because I know that graphene, it has high electrical, but it can generate electricity very fast. But then after I discussed it with my professors and then with the other professors from the chemical engineering, and they said that actually carbon nanotubes, it will work faster, work faster, and then it will give better performance. But then in the future, I actually still wanted to try the graphene itself because I know that graphene, it has a lot of physical characteristic that can support my supercapacitor. So actually in the future, I will try both the CNT and graphene and look which one is better. But so far, for my first method, I will try the CNT first.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have another question about the plant microbial fuel cells. So in today's talk, you just mentioned the plants and the yeast, but I think there are several different, many species of plants, and yeast belongs to the fungi, and the fungi includes many species. So which plants or which yeast have you used for your study?
About the yeast, I will choose in the yeast group. I know there have many species of the yeast, but it's hard to divide it yeast by myself. So I'm so sorry about that. And maybe I will going to ask other professors how to doing this, but in my project I will just test the yeast groups. So yes, and this.
Okay. Thank you very much. And if no other questions, let's move to the next presentation. Thank you very much, Shanghai University.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next presentation is given by National Taiwan Normal University, and the title of their talk is Renewable Fuels Hydrogen Generation Catalysis. Okay, if you are ready, please start.
Hello, this is Taiwan Normal University. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
表示たいと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。Hello everyone, we are Team A from National Taiwan Normal University. Today, we want to share a presentation of renewable fuels, hydrogen generation catalysts. Our team members are Yang Weilun, Chen Meishen, Yang Yibang, Zhu Chenzhe, Ye Bingyu, and me, Lu Deyou. Our coordinator is Professor Cai Mingang. When it comes to our topic, first of all, we need to know the scale of energy. For example, we may consume a few joules per second, aka watts. For a toaster, it may be 1,000 watts, in other words, 1 kilowatt. For the picture, we can see that flying a plane needs 1 million watts, while a nuclear power plant needs 1 gigawatt. Nowadays, people in the world use 1 tetrawatt of energy every day. To introduce energy problems, we have to know what kind of energy type we are using. From the chart, we can know humans' needs are increasing at a fast rate. According to the statistics, people use 18 terawatts of energy in 2020, 85% of it from the combustion of fossil fuel. The total amount might be up to 32 terawatts in 2060 and 44 terawatts in 2100. What's worse is that the gap is about 15 terawatts, equal to energy that 15,000 nuclear power plants produce in a year. And it is difficult to build 50,000 nuclear power plants in the next 50 years. Thus, developing renewable energy is urgently necessary. Before researching how to produce renewable energy, we may look for what plants do. Photosynthesis is the reaction that plants, green algae, and some prokaryotes can do, which is the process that captures light, convert light energy to chemical energy, and expand on the chemical energy to reduce inorganic carbon dioxide to organic carbon in the form of sugar. The whole process can be divided into light-driven reaction and carbon reactions. Light-driven reaction turn water into oxygen and produce NADPH, ATP, as the energy source of carbon reactions, while carbon reaction turn carbon dioxide into sugar. The goal of the light-dependent reaction is producing the ATP and NADPH required for carbon dioxide reduction. The reaction system has 4 major components: PS2, cytochrome, PS1, and ATP synthesis. They are all on the cycloid membrane. PS2 and PS1 are chlorophyll protein complex, which is a ferrolite complex, can collect light energy. PS2 has a OEC complex, which contains magnesium ion, can split water into oxygen, hydrogen, and transfer electron. Electron transferred to viscous protein on cytocomplex. Viscous protein is an aerosol protein. Then, electron is further transferred to PS1 phosphocyanide, which is a copper protein. PS1 has an aerosol protein called ferrotoxic. It can synthesize an ADPH after electron transfer to ferrotoxic. Furthermore, the hydrogen generates in glycosolid membrane, which is caused during the light-driven reaction, activates ATP synthesis and generates ATP. PCR means photosynthetic carbon reaction, also called C-free cycle, Calvin cycle, or reductive tectonic phosphate cycle. And the whole process will end with synthesis BC3, which is glycerol-free phosphate will undergo several reactions and transfer into glucose. Rubisco is an important enzyme in the process. It is also the most abundant enzyme in the world. It can fix carbon dioxide into PGA. Now, let's look at the renewable energy chart. From the diagrammatic sketch, we can find the geothermal and wind energy is much lower than solar energy. Following this idea of renewal, we have developed some kind of renewable energy. We have two ways to connect solar energy with hydrogen energy, direct and indirect. With a direct way, we can use solar cells to turn solar energy into hydrogen energy by the photovoltaic effects, such as electrochemical hydrogen generation mechanism. We separate the mechanism into two kinds of reaction, acidic media and alkaline media. In acidic media, we have two reactions. One is that two hydrogen atoms are fixed on the metal, such as lithium, and combined into hydrogen gas. Another reaction is when the one hydrogen atom is fixed on the metal, react with a hydrogen ion, receive an electron simultaneously, and become hydrogen gas. In alkaline media, we replace the hydrogen ion with water. First, water receives an electron and becomes hydrogen atom and hydroxide ion, which hydrogen is fixed in the metal. We also have two reactions in the media. Another water receives an electron and becomes hydrogen atom and hydroxide ion, just like the first one. The hydrogen atoms combine into hydrogen gas. Another reaction is one hydrogen atom is fixed on the metal, reacts with water, receive an electron simultaneously, and become hydrogen gas and hydroxide ion.
On the other hand, when it comes to the direct way, the first thing we must know is the energy band gap. Let's take a look at the picture above. This is an energy diagram of materials. Each black lines represent an octal. The position of the line corresponds to the energy levels of the octal. First of all, when two atoms come very close to each other, the atomic orbitals of each atom would overlap with each other and form two energy levels. Now, as a lot of atoms approach each other and eventually form a solid, then similarly, there will be a large number of energy levels. And because the energy gap between these energy levels are small, these energy levels can be regarded as energy bands. That is, the energy of electrons is distributed in a range. In atomic models, valence electrons in the outer shells usually have higher energy than inner shells electrons, which means that these are the electrons that are most easily emitted from the atomic orbital. Similarly, the valence orbital of each atom in a solid form the valence band. If the energy given to an electron in the valence band is larger than the energy gap, it has the opportunity to be excited to the higher energy band, the conduction band. The electric conductivity of a solid mainly depends on the size of the energy gap between the valence band and the conduction band, which we call band gap. The electrons excited to the conduction band have enough energy to move freely inside the solid, which means that the solid can conduct electricity. In the picture below, the conduction band of most metals overlap with the valence band, or the energy gap between them is very small. So it is very easy to conduct electricity. On the contrary, the energy gap of the insulator is quite large, so it is difficult to conduct electricity, and the energy gap of a semiconductor is between the conductor and the insulator. So we can use materials like semiconductor to absorb sunlight and generate excited electrons to convert water into hydrogen. So we have 5 quad wavelengths we have on the Earth. Please look at the picture. The yellow area is the wavelength of light that the sun diffuses. The red area is what we receive on the Earth's surface. Due to the atmosphere, some of them were absorbed. From the picture, we can find that the most amount of wavelengths is about 400 to 700 nanometers, the visible light. Thus, we have to find out if the material fits the wavelengths of visible light. In 2006, the researchers had found the catalyst, which is the solid solution of lithium nitride and zinc oxide with a band gap of 2.58 to 2.76 electron volts, modified with lithium oxide nanoproducts, could work under visible light during the overall water splitting reaction. You can see that both materials are white when they are separate. But if you mix them in a certain ratio, they will turn yellow, which means the catalyst can absorb violet light. This is the video shows the reaction carried out by the photocatalyst we mentioned above. You can see that there are hydrogen bubbles in the solution.
After knowing how the material works, we can try to apply it, which is so-called hydrogen anatomy. The definition of hydrogen anatomy is using hydrogen to decarbonize economic sectors, which was proposed by John Cockeriss during a talk he gave in 1970 at General Motors Technical Center. It is clear things. It rarely produces greenhouse gas and toxic substances and can store a huge amount of energy in unit weight. One example of a hydrogen economy is that the fuel can replace the fossil fuel burned in internal combustion engine, eliminating greenhouse gas emissions and pollution from the engine. For example, in February 2020, infrastructure for hydrogen was underdeveloped, except in some parts of California. We can look forward for more applications with safer and highly efficient. To sum up, energy shortage is obvious, and to make up for the shortness, hydrogen energy from solar energy is the most worth looking forward to. By researching new material, we can find the key to the problem someday. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And are there any question or comment? Okay, then I have a question. By your presentation, I recognize that hydrogen energy is better than the fossil energy, but currently, as you told, the fossil energy is a mainstream of the economy. So, what is required for the breakthrough to replace the fossil energy to the hydrogen energy?
Can you hear my voice?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it is difficult to replace fossil energy now because it is the large amount of energy in the world. As I say in the video, it has 85%. So I think we have some technology problem to solve to place it. I think we first have to solve is how to store the hydrogen energy because as we know, hydrogen gas is easily reaction with another substance. So maybe we have to solve it to store them.
Okay, thank you very much. And if there's no question, let's move to the next presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, next group is Pajajaran University, and their title is Integration of Rice and Cow Waste Utilization for the Biogas Power Plant. Pajajaran University, please.
Okay, hello everyone. We are from Pajajaran University, Team 1. Right now we will present our research. The title is The Integration of Co-Waste Utilization for Biopower Plant. Next. Our presentation will be divided into 3 parts, that is introduction, methods, and results.
Okay, so first for the introduction, as we know, Indonesia is known as an agrarian country, which means it mainly uses land for the agricultural sector. In this country, the agricultural sector has a crucial role in the national economy. It basically provides the availability for basic food needs and being a primary source of numerous commodities. It's also contributing to the citizens' income. Its importance can be seen by the value of gross domestic product that reached the average of 16.39% within the period of 1985 to 2017. This value has a relatively higher rank than other sectors.
For the example, rice is one of the most widely grown agricultural crops in Indonesia. Based on data from the Central Statistic Agency Indonesia, the amount of rice production in 2021 is 55.26 tons. In addition, other types of agriculture that are often found in Indonesia are corn farming. Based on data from the Indonesian Ministry of Agriculture in 2018, corn production was 30.56 million tons.
Okay, the amounts of rice straw in Indonesia can reach 12 until 15 tons per hectare once harvested, or 4 until 5 tons of dry matter. So far, the utilization of rice straw as animal feed has reached 39%, 7% is used for industry, and 36% is burned. To reduce the amount of rice straw waste, people generally choose to burn rice straw waste so that it results in a smoke pollution that can disrupt environmental stability, which can create air pollution, remove soil nutrients, so that it will reduce soil fertility and lead to a decrease in crop productions and productivity, and can trigger land fires. While for humans, it can cause respiratory problems due to inhaling pollutions caused by burning the waste. Next. Okay, based on the data from the 20 largest producing countries in the world above, it can be seen that Indonesia ranked third in the rice productions, and the byproducts in the forms of rice straw waste is 81.38 million tons. The abundance of rice straw waste provides a great opportunity for Indonesia to create a potential and sustainability energy. Next.
So as you can see, livestock and its waste have a potential in Indonesia because the livestock sector has a vital role in Indonesia economy. Because the level of public consumption of the livestock product is quite high, such as meat, eggs, milk, and cheese. Not only that, the issue of cow waste disposal, sanitation, and environmental problem coupled with the high cost of fossil fuel, making biogas production a better choice. Also, the rest of the manure out from the digester in the form of sludge and slurry is a ready-made organic fertilizer required by crops. It contains excellent nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphor, potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron, and sulfur. As an alternative to animal feed is one of the most important factors in all livestock business for ruminants. The magnitude of the influence of feeds on production causes the cost inquired to feed to not be taken lightly. About 60 to 80% of the total production cost is determined by the feed cost factor. One of the alternative materials that can be used as an animal feed is rice straw waste. Rice straw is a byproduct of rice plant, which is available in relatively large quantities. And rice straw contains 84.22% of dry matter, 4.6% of crude protein, 28.86% of crude fiber, 1.52% of crude fat, and 50.8% of extract material without nitrogen. 36 to 62% of rice straw in Indonesia is burned or returned to the ground as a compost. And for animal feed, it is around 31 to 39%, while the remaining 7 to 16% is used for industrial purposes.
Although the amount is abundant, there are several things that must be considered before using rice straw as cow feed. Rice straw contains low crude protein, high crude fiber, and balanced mineral, and it also has lignin content that's quite hard to digest. So it must be processed physically, biologically, and chemically before it can be consumed by cows. As you can see from this diagram, the use of fossil energy in Indonesia is still very high. According to Institute of Surface Reform Indonesia 2020, the use of fossil fuels for power generation is at 67% of the total energy used each year. It is dominated by coal in 64% and followed by oil in 3%. We can also see that the usage of renewable energy is still below 50% and dominated by gas energy. Here is a comparison table between the use of non-renewable energy and renewable energy. We chose fossil as the example of renewable energy and biogas, the main topic of our presentation, as the representative of renewable energy. Biogas is more environmentally friendly because it is made by organic material. On the other hand, fossil can cause several environmental problems such as air pollution, global warming, and acid deposition. As for the positive aspect of fossil, it is cost lower than renewable energy since it has been used for centuries and it is easy to build in various places and easy to store for an indefinite period of time. That's maybe some reasons why fossil energy is still in demand. So what is biogas? Biogas is a gas produced from the fermentation process of organic materials such as animal waste or plant waste or even human waste using anaerobic bacteria.
So for the research, there are some methods that needed. First is AMOFER. AMOFER or ammoniation fermentation is a combination of two methods as an effort to improve the quality of rice straw as co-feed ingredients. There are two main processes in this technique. They are ammoniation and fermentation. Ammoniation is a chemical treatment that conducted by adding urea to loosen the bonds between cellulose and lignin fiber. This process can increase the nutrient content and digestibility of high fiber waste. While fermentation is carried out by adding starter containing microorganisms, where these microbes while producing primary and secondary metabolic to degrade complex organic matter into simple compound. The main purpose of this method is to improve availability and quality of animal feed, and also can be a way to utilize agricultural waste. By combining both processes, we could boost the nutrient content and also increase palatability of the cattle and consumption of rice straw. This method is also suitable for local farmers because the material used are affordable and applicable. The procedure for making straw through AMOFER technique divided into two stages. First is the preparation stage, where in this process we prepare the necessary material like rice straw, urea, and a biological starter. For the example, here is used probiotic from bacillus, and also a plastic bag and water. The measurement for each substance are urea 3% and probiotic 1% of total rice straw. The second stage is the making AMOFER rice straw. First, rice straw is cut into 10 to 15 centimeter length and then put into 180 kilogram capacity tin. After that, stack each pile of hay with a height of 30 centimeter and spread the mixture of urea and probiotic evenly onto the rice straw. Also, water the straw with adequate water. Next, peel of rice straw were covered in plastic sheet and weighted on top. And the rice straw is ripened for 6 weeks by fermenting it in anaerobic condition. Last, rice straw is removed and dried to be given to livestock.
Okay, next is the methods of biogas production. So biogas is a gas produced from biodegradable organic materials through biological process called anaerobic digestion. Degrading organic waste, the anaerobic digestion process involves a complex dynamic system of microbiological, biochemical, and psychochemical process in the absence of oxygen. In the manufacturing process, the organic matter will be stored in a closed room called a digester. The digester is isolated from oxygen to help the bacteria can doing the methanogenesis process properly to produce the final product in the form of methane gas and carbon dioxide. Okay, next. So here it is, the diagram of the biogas process using anaerobic digestion method has 4 stages. These 4 stages are hydrolysis, acidogenesis, acetogenesis, and methanogenesis. Hydrolysis is the first stage that is break down complex compounds into simple compounds such as carbohydrates into sugars, fats into fat and proteins into amino acids. These products will be broken down by a variety of obligate and fermentative bacteria in the next stage, namely acidogenesis. At the acidogenesis stage, facultative fermentative bacteria respond to condition where the hydrogen congenesis stage is characterized product, or the VVAS, or as we can see at the diagram is the volatile fatty acids. This VVAS from the acidogenesis stage will be converted in the acetogenesis stage to become an acetate with hydrogen also being produced. This conversion is a vital process because the higher concentration of hydrogen and carbon dioxide can be reduced to the production of acetate. So it is really important to make sure that the hydrogen partial pressure is low. And the last stage is the methanogenesis. The methanogenesis occur 2 steps, that is hydrogenotropic methanogen that convert hydrogen into methane, and acetoclastic methanogen that is convert acetic acids into methane. Next.
Okay, we next to purifications of biogas from impurities. In biogas productions, the biogas product is often accompanied by impurities such as hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is an impurity gas found in commercial gas which has an odor, is deadly, and is very corrosive to various types of metals, so that it can cause components of other tools such as stoves used for cooking to rust quickly, and generator engines will be quickly damaged due to corrosions either on the inside or outside, in the generator engine as well as on the outside. To avoid this, it is necessary to purify biogas. One way that can be used is the utilization of gram iron waste from turning. The steps taken are the annealing and oxidation process by burning at a temperature of 900 degrees Celsius and allowing it to cool. The iron gram is the print and insert into a series of tools so that it will be referred to as a filter billet. Next.
As a result, the content of fermented rice straw has 79.1% of dry matter, 7.7% of crude protein, 32.2% of crude fiber, and 2.4% of crude fat. The fermentation process was able to increase the crude protein content from 3% to 7% and increase the digestibility from 28 to 30% to 50 to 55%. Fermented rice straw contains a crude protein of 7.16% higher than in the unfermented rice straw, which is 5.72%. And during the fermentation process, there has been a modification of structured and non-structural carbohydrates as an evidence by the decrease of 1.66% in the content of crude fiber in unfermented rice straw, which is 32.56%.
Fermented rice straw has good characteristics both on its contents and its effects on cow. In its contents, rice straw that has been fermented can cause lignin and silica content in it to be easily digested. This treatment can also increase the protein content in rice straw up to 2 until 4 times from the original. And the good effect on cow is, according to research conducted by Suitability 2020, giving fermented rice straw to cows can provide a significant increase in weight. That's 0.25 until 0.4 kilograms per day, and compared to the other fodder or food for cow, that's only provides increase until 0.2 until 0.3 kilograms per day.
And the next is to improving PLTB or alternative power plant system and the main factor that affect the potential biogas from animal waste, which is power generation from biomass is currently the most popular growing market worldwide due to technological improvement, decreasing reliance on fossil-based energy, and the reduction of greenhouse gases emission, which is a micro gas turbine are also attractive method to lower any of emission and flexibility to meet various load requirements. Multiple microturbines rising from this 70 kilowatt to over 250 kilowatt can be employed to meet low medium power load demand. And also, if biogas is upgraded and purified to biomethane, it can also be fed into natural gas grid to be used for heating purposes, power generation, or to provide fuel to compress natural gas and even natural gas vehicle. A significant benefit of biomethane is that it can be stored to meet peak demand, which is biogas brain to perform by physical and chemical technological such absorption, serogenic membrane separation, and gas separation membrane, as well as biological technologies. Next. And the promising estimation of biogas conversion to electricity is that biogas is relatively significant comparative and package such as offer a promising sustainable solution which is estimated to be about 8 multiple 102 megajoule and is renewable high quality fuel can burn without leaving soot or particulate matter. And biogas itself is a biogas consisting of methane, carbon dioxide, and trace of other gases produced through microbial process under anaerobic condition from biodegradable material, and which is created some alternative renewable high quality energy. Next. And the conclusion is that the agricultural and livestock sector has vital role in alternative energy, in improved availability, quality, animal rehabilitation of agricultural waste. The composition of rice straw can be combined, can overcome the excess of rice straw that has gone through the fermentation ammonia process, and improving PLTB system, and the main factor that affect potential biogas from the animal waste and promising estimation of biogas conversion to electricity. And yeah, that's all from our presentation. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much. And now the paper is open for discussion. Are there any question or comment?
Can I ask some questions?
Okay, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It is very interesting. And biogas contains mostly methane. So, and you suggested us that some of vehicles are possible to use methane. So, but mostly in the world, most of the vehicles, for example, cars, use fossil fuels. So, do you have any idea to increase natural gas, to increase using natural gas vehicles?
Okay, allow me to answer a question. So maybe to increase the cost, to lower it from fossil energy, we can conduct more research for technology with more lower cost than we are using now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, then I have one question. So in your presentation, you told that one of the inferior point of biogas is high cost. So my question is, which part of the biogas generation is a high cost, and do you have any idea how to resolve the problem?
Okay, let me answer.
Yeah, please.
The idea from us to reduce the cost of the biogas is if we want to combine the methods of the ammophare and then the co-waste, we need to do more research about the ammophare methods to know the how to reduce the cost, because the highest cost of biogas is from the methods of ammophare. Thank you. Maybe my friend can add some more answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no. Okay, are there any question or comment?
There's two questions in the chatting, Sensei.
Please.
Please check the chatting.
Chatting. Yeah. So could you please check the chat? There are some questions. 1, 2, 3. So there are three questions in the chat.
I think the question is are two, and one student from Unpad already answered this one directly by chatting also. So I think only one left chatting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to answer the question from Niluh Puturati. I think the geographic limitation from biogas is because the distribution of the source that used in biogas. There are several sources that we can use, and the distribution of the source is still not equally in each countries. So also the technology that used to process the source is still so defined. So it's still hard for us to use biogas equally in every country. That's my answer.
I also want to add the answer of Edwina, because this method has not been applied in general, because it's a combination of two different methods. However, biogas, it has been widely implemented in Bali and Sumatra. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if no questions, I'd like to go to the next. So we have a 10 minutes break. So let's come back here to 13:45. Okay, let's start the next session. The first speaker of the next session is Udayana University, and the title of their talk is Ecotourism Potential Based on Water Quality Studies for the Realization of Superior Biodiversity. And if we are ready, please start.
So thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Moderator. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Professor Takahashi. Professor Akihiko Fujiwara and Professor Masaru Hojo from Kansai Gakuen University. And of course, good afternoon to all participants of Kansai Gakuen University Online International Exchange Program with the topic Sustainable Energy and Biodiversity. So here we are from Udayana University and we will present our presentation. That title is Ecotourism Potential based on water quality studies for realization of superior biodiversity. Before that, I will introduce our group. Let's start from me. My name is Maitri, and here we have Bayu, Oyi, Ristia, Ferry, and Echa. So we will start the presentation from the introduction that presented by Ristia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Before I begin, let me state that the purpose of my team's presentation today is to discuss Bali tourism, specifically its marine ecotourism potential. Now, I'll go over the background of the topic we are discussing today. Bali, as we all know, is a wealthy island with a diverse range of wealth, starting with culture and then moving on to natural resources. One of them is the natural well of the sea. On the picture right side, you can see Tulamben, Nusa Penida, and Tanjung Benoa. We are the focus of our discussion in the case study. Tulamben, Nusa Penida, and Tanjung Benoa are three of Bali's most popular tourist destination. These three locations have developed tourism activities such as diving, snorkeling, and water sport. Next. But tourism activities can have an impact on the underwater environment over time. Mineral waste and plastic bottle can be seen swimming with fish and other marine life like this photo. And if this moment will be continuous, it will have an impact on the quality of the waters. Next. Water quality refers to the physical, chemical, and biological process of a body of water that affect its ability to sustain environmental values. Physical and chemical and biological process is an important factor that can affect water quality. And as previously stated, human activity, specifically tourism, can have an impact on the physical, chemical, and biological process of water. And as we all know, water is essential for the survival of all living organisms. Next. Therefore, to suppress the negative impact of tourism activities for marine life is to create marine ecotourism. The creation of marine ecotourism can be said for utilize environmental resource, become a key element in tourism development optimally, maintaining essential ecological process, and help conserve natural heritage and biodiversity. Next. So we are here today to learn about the first one is to knowing the carrying capacity of ecosystem for ecotourism development, and the second one is to knowing the suitability of water quality condition with biodiversity. Next.
So here our methodology that the research area that we are pick is Tulamben, Nusa Penida, and Tanjung Benoa. Next. And our research method is observation, and we use data analyzing is ecotourism, suitability index, biodiversity index, and water quality parameters. Next.
Okay, thank you for the time. I will explain about the first area research is Tulamben. As you can see on the left side, there's the maps of Tulamben village located in the Kubu district, Karangasem Regency, and has developed into one of the main marine tourism destination.
The magnitude of the potential of marine biota research, the beauty of the panorama, and the diversity of attraction provided by Tulamben have made the marine tourism object the best place for diving. On the research, the station designated as an observation area in Tulamben consists of 3 stations, each for diving and snorkeling categories. First station is located at shipwreck on the depth of 5 meters, and station 2 at shipwreck with 10-meter depth, station 3 and station 4 at Coral Garden, and station 5 and station 6 on drop-off. Next. The biodiversity index shown in Tulamben for the suitability of marine ecotourism is coral reefs and reefs. The diversity types of growth forms on coral reef is one of the parameter development of diving and snorkeling tourism. The more diverse form of coral reef growth can be seen by divers. This has a good impact on the development of diving and snorkeling tourism area in Tulamben. In addition to coral reef, the presence of reef fish is also an attraction in the development of diving and snorkeling tourism activities. Next. The parameters of suitability of marine tourism in the diving tourism category include water brightness, coral community cover, a type of growth form, type of reef fish, current speed, and depth of coral reefs. You guys can see the table. There are 6 places that are used to determine the ecotourism suitability index, which I explained before. Based on the table, the condition of coral reefs in the Tulamben water is category damaged to good. Damaged condition are found in shipwreck with a depth of 5 meters, moderate condition in shipwreck with a depth of 10 meters, coral garden and drop off with a depth of 10 meters. Coral garden in the depth of 5 meters is included in the good category. And observation found many as 100 species of reef fish belonging to 25 family. And the environmental condition of the water seen from the depth, current speed, and brightness of the Tulamben waters are classified as good for coral growth. The next slide will explain by my friend. Thank you. Okay, I will continue the presentation. Before that, can you hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Nusa Penida is an island of Southeast Indonesian island, Bali, and a district of Klungkung Regency that includes the neighborhood small island of Nusa Lembongan. Nusa Penida covers wide area of diving location, include Penida Bay, Batu Lumbung, Batu Melik, Batu Abah, Toya Pakeh, and Malibu Point. Okay, Nusa Penida is the one Indonesia's most beautiful marine ecotourism destination. Reef fish, shark, manta rays, turtles, dolphins, and whale can be found on Nusa Penida. Coral reef are very good condition and exceptional water quality contributes to Nusa Penida biota richness. Next. Okay, the bioecological condition of the Nusa Penida tourist area, especially the condition of coral reef and reef fish, is excellent, included by water quality factors such as temperature, acidity, and very good and stable current movement. Next. The proportion of coral community cover in Nusa Penida is constantly strong from year to year. In 2010, the range of coral community cover was 72% to 95.67% and 62% to 96.33 in 2011 and 52% to 97% in 2012. Because of that, Nusa Penida marine life is rich. Okay, will be continue to my friends. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is my turn. I will explain about Tanjung Manual Beach. Tanjung Benua Beach is one of the most favorite marine recreations in Bali, or as known as Tanjung Benua water sport. It has white sand, white coal motion wave, and also many unique marine creations inside. Tanjung Benua Beach is located at the southern of Bali Island. As we can see in this slide, there are many tourism rides in Tanjung Benua that we can use. Some of them are jet ski, parasailing, banana boat, fly fish, and turtle island. And I will explain on the next slide. Okay, here are the next slides. There are biodiversity in Tanjung Benua that we can find. There are 3 types. The first is coral reefs, turtle island, and also reefs. Especially for the turtle island, there are a specific place for us to find turtle island. There is local people share to us for using boats to go in turtle island itself, because there are specific places that we can find turtle island. We can find 3 types of turtle that people do a conservations there. There are olive ridley, green turtle, and also hawksbill. On the next slides, I will tell you about the parameters in Tanjung Benua Beach. There are physics matters and also chemistry parameters. The samples is taken around the water sport, which is in the north and also in the south of Tanjung Benua. The water measurements is determined as many as 3 points. As we can see in this slide, there is tables. There are 3 points with latitude and longitude, and also we can find 9 indicators here, such as depth, brightness, temperatures, conductivity, salinity, density, water speeds, acidity, and oxygen demand. In my research using decree of the Minister of State for the Environment in 2004 concerning seawater quality, says that the water quality or water measurements in Tanjung Benua Beach still excellent for the growth of marine creatures, and also still good for us to visit as a marine recreations. Okay, I have still one slide that I will explain about coral reefs. Why coral reefs? Because mostly we explain about coral reefs in every regions in Bali. Coral reefs is one of the most important marine creatures for many others biodiversity, such as fish or anemones as their home. The method we use in coral reefs planting efforts is transplantations. What is transplantations? Transplantations is a kind of method that we use for corals colony propagation technique by utilizing asexual reproductions of corals by using fragmentation methods. As we can see here, there are peoples using coral reef transplantations by taking the parts of coral reefs from its complete body into the small parts, and then we make a copy. After we make a copy, then we have a media such as pipe or iron that already have the hole to replace the cotton coral reefs itself. As we can see in the pictures 1, there are coral reef transplantations, and the picture 3, there are growth periods of the coral reefs transplantations that already plans by using transplantations method. On the next slides, my friends will explain. Thank you.
Yes. And the conclusion, 1, the in Tanjung Benua ecosystem are currently used for ecotourism activities, such as diving and snorkeling, because the biodiversity is diverse and in good condition. 2, marine tourism appears to have an impact on the state of the waters,
According to the finding of the research, the available biota diversity was in moderate conditions. Next.
Okay, have you finished?
Yes. We have
Okay.
finished.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
now the paper is open for discussion. Are there any question or comment? Okay, then I have a question. So today you have talked about the biodiversity and some physical chemical parameters for ecotourism. And I'm very impressed of the beautiful scene of the Indonesia. And but I have a question about the bit different viewpoint. So many tourists often becomes the cause of the destruction of the environment. So my question is, do you have any idea to avoid the environmental pollution by the increasing tourists?
Excuse me, Professor.
Yep.
Can we take a time to discuss with our group first?
Okay, please.
Okay, thank you.
And if there are question or comment, please use the chat.
Excuse me, maybe I
Yep.
want to explain a little bit.
Yep.
And maybe my other friends will add some answers. So, at 30 seconds, the question is, how or do we have any idea to increase the tourism, or do we have any idea to make a water quality still good even though the
So
tourism still?
Yeah. So you're talking about the ecotourism, but if the tourists increased, the such many tourists often becomes the cause of the environmental destructions. So my question is how to regulate the environmental pollution by the increasing tourists.
So the first is we make a social lecturer for the tourists. That this place is a kind of biodiversity place, which is the water quality is important. So there are the tourism are able to understand, oh, this place is unique, so we have to pay attention of their biodiversity. That's one answer.
Okay.
Excuse me, maybe I want to add the answer. Because each type of tourism activities has different suitability parameters. The tourism suitability index is used. The suitability of activity parameters for various type of tourism activities is classified. In the case study, we investigate the suitability of diving, snorkeling, and water sports tourism activities in Tulamben, Nusa Penida, and Tanjung Medua. Previously, tourism activities did not include the aspect of marine ecotourism. However, with the existence of marine ecotourism, the activities carried out could take into account the capacity of daily visit.
This tourism suitability index is closely related to the diversity index and water quality, because tourism suitability allow us to validate data from the level of biodiversity contained, as well as the quality of water that is in good condition for underwater life.
Okay, thank you very much. And if there's no question, I'd like to move to the next session. Thank you very much. And the next speaker is Amity University, and the title of their talk is Photovoltaic Cells, the Brightness of a Sustainable Future.
Namaste, good morning and good afternoon to everyone present today in this meeting. Today, we, the students from Amity University, have got a great opportunity to present our views in on this amazing platform. We are the team from Chemistry Department. The topic of our presentation is Photovoltaic Cells, the Brightness of a Sustainable Future. To begin with, let us get familiar with the term Sustainable Development. The Sustainable Development basically aims to bring a balance between meeting the requirements of what the present demands while not overlooking the needs of the future generation. The non-renewable energy, it comes from those type of sources that will ultimately run out one day and will not be replenished within a short duration of time. They require millions of years for their formation. So this is the reason why sustainable development should be practiced. Also, the 29% of nitrogen oxides, they react with the sunlight to create ground level ozone and smog. These come from the electricity generation. Particulate matter is a type of air pollution, more commonly referred to as soot. Mercury is a highly toxic metal that is released from coal-fired power plants. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas that contributes to the global climatic change. Ozone occurs naturally in the upper atmosphere where it is beneficial. However, ozone in the lower atmosphere creates the urban haze, which we call it as smog. 66% of the nation's sulfur dioxide, it causes acid rain. It also comes from the electricity generation. The photovoltaic cell are also known as the solar cell. It is an electronic component that generates electricity when exposed to photons or particles of light. As you can see that when the electrons present in the valence band jump to the conduction band, creating the holes, which are the vacancy left in the valence band. They show this type of an excitation when they absorb the solar energy up into them. So this is basically the basic phenomena upon which the photovoltaic cell works. The solar energy has several advantages but least disadvantages. The major advantage of solar energy is that it is completely a renewable energy resource. It means that it can be replenished upon its own within a short duration of time. The solar cells make no noise at all and they require very less maintenance to keep themselves running. Whereas the disadvantages lies that the solar panels are expensive when we first purchase them, and the solar energy cannot be harnessed during a strong, cloudy day or at night. But to increase the efficiency of these solar panels, India has proposed many solutions. And due to the weather restrictions, India also has the solution to store the solar energy into several forms.
Photovoltaic cells are usually divided into three categories called generation. The first generation is silicon PV cell, and they have been the go-to choice for decades. They are the most common commercially available solar panels and have appreciable efficiency. However, silicon-based devices are heavy and require high temperature for fabrication and makes their manufacturing expensive. Now, the second generation is thin film PV cell. They require less raw material and less energy manufacturing process, so they are cheap to manufacture. However, they have very low efficiency, and therefore they cover only 5% of world PV cell market. Now, the third generation includes
latest solar cell technologies that combine best properties of silicon solar cells and thin film solar cells to provide high efficiency and better usability. One such promising technology is perovskite solar cell, and they are considered the future of solar cell. However, they are immature technology and their stability issues require further studies. Next. Now, let us first look at figure 1, which is the data recorded by International Energy Agency. This data shows global net PV capacity addition from 2018 to 2020. As we can see from the graph, in China, solar PV capacity rebounded in 2020 after slowdown in 2019. Solar PV capacity expansion continued to increase in the United States, the European Union, Latin America, as well as in Japan in 2020. However, capacity growth slowed in India in 2020, majorly due to disruption caused by strict national COVID-19 lockdown, delaying numerous projects. So therefore, the tracking status for solar PV has been changed from on-track mode to more effort needed status, reflecting the need to meet 2030 net zero scenario. Now, looking at figure 2, which is the data released by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy India, showing statewide solar capacity addition in India from April 2021 to January 2022. During this period, about 7 gigawatt of solar utility scale was added. As seen from the pie chart, the state Rajasthan added highest solar capacity, accounting for about 21% of solar total power, followed by Karnataka and Gujarat. So in 2021, India added about 11.1 gigawatt of solar capacity, which is much higher to the installation done in 2020 and aim to achieve further improvement. Now, next. So from developing organic solar cells to improving developing improved efficiency crystalline cells to innovative floating solar thermal power plant, Indian scientists and researcher has achieved success with the aim of a sustainable future. Also, India has been successful in developing a new first-of-a-kind laboratory in Asia dedicated only to green buildings at SEPT Ahmedabad. Next.
Storage of solar energy. So storage refers to the action or method of storing something for future use. Storage of energy is the capture of energy produced at one time for use in the future to reduce imbalances between energy demand and energy production. Here are some of the advantages of combining solar and storage. Balancing electricity loads. When the sun has set and during cloudy days or rainy days, storage of solar energy ensures that the demand of power is met at all times. Firming solar generation, where storage of solar energy can help maintain a firm electrical supply that is reliable and consistent. And finally, providing resilience, where solar and storage together can provide backup during an electrical disruption. Next slide. Now, here are some of the various types of energy storage technologies. We have pump storage hydropower that is based on water, and electrochemical storage that is one of the most popular energy storage technologies that we'll be talking in the later slides. Then we have thermal energy storage, flywheel storage, compressed air storage, solar fuels, and virtual storage. Now let's talk about the electrochemical form of solar energy storage, which happens in the form of solar batteries. And these are the four main types of solar batteries. We have the lead acid battery and the nickel cadmium batteries. And these are the tried technologies from the 1800s that aren't as widely used nowadays. Yes, they are cheap, reliable, and durable. But the main disadvantages of these batteries is that they have a very short lifespan and are extremely toxic, and hence a shift to more greener and efficient storage technologies. And here comes the lithium-ion batteries and the flow batteries. So the lithium-ion batteries, these are the new kids on the energy storage block, and they quickly became one of the most widely used solar battery banks. Now, one of the biggest pros of lithium-ion batteries is that they require almost no regular maintenance. They also have a higher depth of discharge, which means that they can hold more energy in a smaller space than a lead-acid battery. And the lithium-ion batteries, they have a longer life cycle, and most have a guaranteed warranty of at least 10 years. And this longer lifespan has to do with having a higher depth of discharge, so you can use more of the energy stored within the battery before it has to be recharged. One of the biggest disadvantages of lithium-ion batteries, however, is that they're more expensive than the other storage technologies. Lithium-ion batteries, they're best for residential solar installations because they can hold more power in a limited space and allow you to use more of the energy stored within the battery, which is great for powering a home. Then we have the flow batteries. These are the emerging technology in the energy storage sector. They contain a water-based electrolyte liquid where chemical reaction occurs and energy is stored. Now, one of the best things about flow batteries is that they have 100% depth of discharge, and this means you can use all of the energy stored in the battery without damaging the battery's health. Flow batteries have the longest lifespan among the 4 options, that is 30 years, and they're a very safe option because the electrolyte used is not toxic and is fire retardant. Flow batteries, unfortunately, are unfortunately very much expensive than the rest of the solar batteries. They have very low charge and discharge rate, which also means that in order to be effective, they must be large in size. They also have a relatively low storage capacity compared to other battery systems. So in order to hold a substantial amount of energy, they need to be large. And so flow batteries are best for large scale installations, and they can also be used as a standalone power system. Next slide. And now here are some of the India's contribution in the advancements in the battery industry. The researchers from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras and Christ College, Kerala have made some amazing contributions in the flow battery development area. The Department of Science and Technology, India, and the Science and Engineering Research Board, which is the statutory body under the DST, have supported several projects regarding various batteries of different chemistries.
To make photovoltaic technology competitive with traditional fossil fuel combustion, cost of the existing PV systems need to be reduced by a significant portion. One way to achieve this is to improve the power conversion efficiency or reduce fabrication cost of the state-of-the-art equipment. Historically, crystalline silicon solar cell has been the technology of choice because it had the most success in making PV more affordable. However, going forward, there seems to be a little room left for the improvement in conventional silicon photovoltaic technology. Methyl ammonium lead trihalide perovskite solar cells are a new class of thin film photovoltaic devices and has shown exceptional performances. However, the technology still faces a significant challenge, which is the instability in ambient conditions. From a structural point of view, this instability stems from the weak bonding between organic cation and the tetrahedral inorganic cage in the perovskite crystal. At SENS, they have tried to solve this problem by introducing novel organic cation, which is intrinsically more stable than the methyl ammonium one. Addition of 10% acidomedium cation into this perovskite cell yielded more environmentally stable cells than the reference ones, and these substituted cells maintain 75% of the initial stability after 20 days as compared to the methyl ammonium lead trihalide cells retaining 40% of their efficiency in the same time frame. Next, please. Another parameter for perovskite solar cells where there's a scope for improvement. Actually, you went too fast. It's the previous slide. Next, please. Okay. Efficiency of single material solar cell is limited by the SQL, the Shockley-Quetzal limit. The SQL of perovskite and silicon is at around 25% and 30% respectively, and to exceed this SQL limit is to integrate different absorber materials onto the same device, forming a tandem cell. Given the band gap of perovskite and silicon, the tandem cell can theoretically have an efficiency of more than 40%, and even the realization of a practical 30% efficient solar cell would have a tremendous impact on cost and viability of the technology. Next, please. This is the perovskite scale that we were talking about. And next, please. Silicon metal oxide heterojunction cells are potentially low-cost alternatives of silicon p-n homojunction cells due to its ease of fabrication. People at Sense have optimized copper oxide silicon heterojunction to make a solar cell with an efficiency increase by 5.23%. Next.
Solar power sector in India is now emerging as an integral part to meet the nation's energy needs and an essential player for energy security. Previously, solar energy has been extensively used as a passive technology to yoga practice. Next. In India, starting from solar water heaters, desalination units, air conditioners to various grid-connected photovoltaic systems, solar energy has a wide range of applications. Next. These are some highlights of India's green buildings which are efficiently generating solar power. The first one is Himurja Office, which is situated in Shimla. The plan of the building and its 3D form allows maximum penetration of the sun, maximizing both solar heat gain and daylight. The building is equipped with 1.5 kilowatt power photovoltaic system that meets the energy demand for lighting whenever required. The roof is mounted with solar water system that produces 1,000 liters per day. The next one is Indira Paryavaran Bhavan, New Delhi. It is located in composite climate zone, a mix of hot, dry, humid, and cold climatic conditions. And the design involves multiple active, passive, and renewable strategies to achieve net zero goals. The next one is CII Saurabji Godrej Green Business Center that is situated in Hyderabad. The building is incorporated with several energy and environmental friendly features, including solar PV systems, a passive cooling system using wind tower, and much more. The green building boasts a 50% saving in overall energy consumption. The solar PV has an installed capacity of 23.5 kilowatts. Also, 20% of the building energy requirements are catered to by solar photovoltaics. The last but not the least is the U Solar Clean Energy Solutions, which is a Bengaluru-based clean energy enterprise, has installed the largest building integrated vertical solar system into its existing building. Next slide. Off-grid solar PV applications program is aimed at providing solar PV-based applications in areas where grid power is either not available or is unreliable. As you can see, the self-explanatory application-wise status of the installations under off-grid program is given on the screen. Also, the Atal Jyoti Yojana phase 2 will cover installation of 300, 4,000 and 500 solar street lights in the different states after successful completion of its phase 1. Next. A target of installing 100 gigawatts of grid-connected solar power by 2022 has been kept. And to meet it, as you can see, various schemes of like Solar Park Scheme, VGF Scheme, etc. are launched. Under the Solar Park Scheme, the development of solar parks and ultra-mega solar power projects are undertaken targeting over 20,000 megawatts to 40,000 megawatts by 2021 to 2022. Central Public Sector Undertaking Scheme Phase 2 aims at setting up 12,000 megawatts grid-connected solar photovoltaic power projects. The Canal Bank and Canal Top Scheme is designed to achieve gainful utilization of the unutilized area on the top of canals and canal banks for setting up solar PV power generation plants for feeding the generated power to grid with a total capacity of 100 megawatt solar PV power projects. Next.
Coming to the future strategies which India aims at achieving. The country's solar capacity as of 30th November 2021 is 48.556 gigawatts. Under PM Kusum scheme, India aims to generate 25,000 megawatts of energy with a total financial support of 340 billion. This scheme includes 10,000 megawatts of decentralized ground-mounted grid-connected renewable power plants of individual plant size up to 2 megawatts. Also, India plans to install solar-powered agriculture pump with an individual pump capacity up to 7.5 horsepower. Next. Switching to solar power has been boon to mankind. Coming to the measures which can be adopted for sustainability are, we should switch to miniature solar panels, as stacking up large solar panels is itself a big responsibility and require very large surface areas as well as implanting areas. In addition, we should switch to developing flexible and organic solar panels in order to adapt easy handling and less buildup of the hazardous gases in the environment. Switching to solar batteries has itself proven to be beneficial, as we have discussed earlier. Next, various other measures which can be considered are, as India has recently started installing electrical stations. Switching these to solar will help in gaining sustainability. The rooftop of the vehicles can be installed with flexible solar panels, will also prove to be efficient. India has a coastline of approximately 7,000 kilometers, which can be utilized for installing floater solar panels. Next. Thank you for taking out your precious time and giving us an opportunity to present our views.
Okay, thank you very much for your interesting talk. And are there any question or comment? Please check the chat. There is a question.
I would like to answer the question. The obstacles in the development of solar energy in India is basically, first of all, in the past 2 years, we have been stuck with this COVID pandemic. That is the major obstacle in this development. And the second of all is the infrastructure is still in the development mode, and we are still trying with the techniques and various processes through which we can improvise this technology. Thank you for the question.
Okay, are there any question or comment? Okay, then I have one question. So, in order to set the many solar panels, large area is required, and it means that the environment of the area is destructed. And one of the ideas to avoid the environmental destruction is floating solar panels you mentioned in the last part of your talk. So do you have any idea except for the floating solar panels to avoid the environmental destruction by setting the solar panels?
Switching to no, you go on after.
Go ahead.
Switching to organic solar panels will also help in reducing the hazardous pollution, as we know that setting up of the large solar panels and then decomposing it off produces a very harmful gases. But if we switch the material to the organic part, it can easily be in the degraded form and will be biodegradable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then another answer.
Sir, also as she talked about having miniature solar panels also helps in this problem of having large solar panels. So switching to organic solar panels and miniature solar panels are the solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. And okay, please check the chat. There's 2 more questions, I think.
So I would like to answer the first one, that how have you done any research on how long the durability of the solar cell or the solar panel material can last? Yes, this research has been done, and in the slide in which I was mentioning that this perovskite cell was introduced, the acidomedium cation was introduced into this perovskite cell. They had a higher stability, and it could last for more time, and it is supposed to be more efficient. And for the next question, sir, that any issue that the storage energy of the solar energy can be a second problem for the environment and how it can be managed. Sir, this is at a developmental stage. right now, and the rest of the innovations have been mentioned by my friend Astha. Astha, you can add to this.
Yes, so basically, we had the first solar energy batteries. That was the nickel cadmium and the lead acid. Those were extremely toxic, and because of that, the disposable and the recycling was a little bit was a very environment hazardous. And so we are currently switching more towards the lithium-ion batteries and the flow batteries, which are a lot less toxic, and they have a higher depth of discharge. That means you can store more energy in them. So that's what we're switching more to, and India right now is currently developing a lot of the new technologies based on lithium-ion batteries and flow batteries, and they are also coming up with more different chemistry of batteries so that it can be even more efficient to store energy.
Okay, you have 2 more questions in the chat.
Yes, sir. Sir, I would like to answer the question that what can the application of flexible solar panel type can be used for? Well, the flexible solar panels are one of the, we can say, the future technologies that will be adopted in India. And the flexible solar panels basically are used to make the integrated photovoltaic cells, and they can also be used as a glazing material that can be applied in the windows. It is just that they are easy to fold, they are easily molded, so that they occupy less space also.
Okay, thank you. And have you already answered the question to what about the transmission?
Okay, so the solar energy, when we talk about the transmission, the power from the solar energy can be wirelessly transmitted from one antenna to the other antenna. So like this, the transmission can take place. It is basically a wireless technology, the future.
Is it all right? Yes, I understand. Okay. Okay, I'm afraid there may be more questions, but I'd like to move to the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And today's last speaker is Biani Group of Colleges, and the title of their talk is Biodiversity Conservation Strategies and Patterns in India. So if we are ready, please start.
A very warm welcome, everyone. It's a great pleasure to meet you all once again on this international platform for talk on sustainable energy and biodiversity. We have our first team from Biani Group of Colleges this week, speaking on biodiversity conservation strategies and patterns in India. At first, the biodiversity in India would be explained by Gargi Dubey. The endangered fauna species of India would be given by Akshita Jangid. Biodiversity of Rajasthan and impact of pandemic on biodiversity would be explained by Vanshika Sharma, and the approaches for biodiversity conservation in India would be explained by Pooja Agarwal. Over to Gargi Dubey.
India is one of the most biologically and culturally diverse nations on the planet, having variety of different life forms such as plants, animals, humans, microorganisms, fungi, and so on. India is one of the 17th mega diverse nations, having 4th rank in Asia and 10th rank in the world in plant diversity. With only 2.4% of Earth's land area, it accounts 7 to 8% of the world recorded species. India is the world's 8th most biodiverse territory, with having 0.46 biod score on the diversity index. The diversity of flora and fauna in India. India is the home of rare and exotic species, with having 91,000 species of animals, 47,000 species of plants, and about half of the world aquatic plant species. In 2020, the Geological Survey of India recorded 102,718 species of fauna, and the Botanical Survey of India recorded 267 plant species, in which 202 are really new. Over world's 36 hotspots in India, 6 biodiversity hotspots are present, in which Sundarban and Tarai Dur Savanna recently added. Can we imagine a life without the biodiversity? I think the answer is no, because the biodiversity helps to provide various kinds of services such as food, fuel, shelter, clean water, good air, and so on. But the increasing day-to-day human population and unsustainable uses of resources are the core threat to biodiversity. With this, pollution, climatic change, habitat destruction also included. Ramsar Convention is an international treaty which was signed in 1971 between different countries, but it came in force in 1975. Under Ramsar Convention, India has 49 Ramsar sites. On 2nd February 2022, on World Wetland Day, held at Sultanpur National Park, Haryana, in which Khajaria Wildlife Sanctuary, Gujarat, and Bakira Wildlife Sanctuary, Uttar Pradesh, recently added as the 2 new Ramsar sites in India. Hathapur wetland added as the 47th Ramsar site in India. Sambhar Lake or the Chilika Lake, Orissa, and Kevladev National Park, Rajasthan, recognized as the first Ramsar site. The Sundarban West Bengal added as the largest Ramsar site, and the Renuka wetland, Himachal Pradesh, added as the smallest Ramsar site. Biodiversity helps to boost the ecosystem productivity and reduces the poverty. So there is a necessity to conserve the biodiversity. It can be conserved in their natural habitat, such as wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, national parks, or it can be conserved outside their natural habitat, such as zoological parks, botanical parks, captive breeding, and so on. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature classifies the status of individual species based on their extinction probability. During the lockdown, due to coronavirus pandemic, in protected areas, it declines in visitors' number caused by travel restrictions and park enclosures have reduced stresses on sensitive animals. But we have also seen that wild species venturing into the rural and urban areas where they have not been seen for many years due to traffic and other human activity. It also reduces the environment pollution as people in India can see the Himalayas from Punjab for the very first time in decades, and also the notable level of movement in water quality, such as in Ganga River, which increases the number of Gengatek dolphins, which is a good indicator of increasing oxygen level in water. The lockdown also affecting the Brahm Kamal, the king of Himalayan flowers, which blooms only once in a year for 2 hours. In the era of pandemic, thousands of Brahm Kamal bloom due to lack of movement of tourists and helps to reduce the pollution. The tourist on trekking broke it before matured, which prevents its seeds from spreading. Over to Ms. Akshita.
Here we mentioned the endangered fauna listed in the list of 2020. The first species we have Great Indian Bustard, which is the state bird of Rajasthan, and it is the heaviest flying bird in the world. According to IUCN, it is critically endangered. There are various conservation efforts done by government to conserve them. Are Project Great Indian Bustard, National Bustard Recovery Plan, and so on. They are on verge of extinction due to power lines. So Supreme Court's hand down high voltage decision in favor of Great Indian Bustard. Bengal tiger. It is biggest wildcats alive today. According to IUCN, it is endangered. In 2019-20, highest annual jump of Bengal tiger reported from the recently added Ramsar site Sundarbans for their conservation establishment of Tiger Conservation Unit by Indian government. Asiatic lion. Gir National Park and Wildlife Sanctuary is the only home of Asiatic lion. According to IUCN, it is endangered. For conservation, they has to be conserved on their natural habitat and increase the range of Gir protected area. Firstly, in Hyderabad Zoo, 8 Asiatic lion found positive. Snow leopard, mainly found in alpine and subalpine zones. According to IUCN, it is vulnerable, but in India, it is critically endangered. Their number is declined due to COVID. For their conservation, snow leopard back from the brink and initiated several projects such as Project Snow Leopard Secure Himalayas. Gengatek River Dolphin only live in fresh water, so it is a reliable indicator of the health of entire river ecosystem. It was recognized as National Aquatic Animal in 2009. According to IUCN, it is endangered. There are various conservation efforts done by government to conserve them are Project Dolphin 2020, which was launched on 74th Independence Day by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Vikramshila Gengatek River Dolphin was initiated as a protected area for the conservation of dolphin. Nilgiri Thar, which is state animal of Tamil Nadu, and it is endemic to Nilgiri Hill and the southern portion of Western Ghats. Due to climate change, Nilgiri Thar faced drastic habitat loss. In the lockdown, record number of Nilgiri Thar births at Irevikulam National Park. Hangul, the Kashmir state, which is also known as Kashmir state and is a state animal of Jammu and Kashmir. According to IUCN, it is critically endangered. The major threat of Hangul extinction are difficulty in implementing protection activities due to security issue in part of Dachingam National Park. For conservation them, a mega preserve of Greater Dachingam has been proposed. Brow antler deer of Sangai, popularly known as Sangai dancing deer. This animal found only in Manipur in the whole world. According to IUCN, it is endangered, only endemic to the Manipur. For the conservation, World Wildlife Fund India made certain recommendations to the government of Manipur for conservation of Sangai, including shifting some animal to second home. Blackbuck, which is also known as Indian antelope, mainly found in India. According to IUCN, it is least concern, but in India, it is endangered. Human blackbuck conflict and predation pressure is major threat to blackbuck extinction. For their conservation, inhabit several protected areas such as Gundi National Park and Tal Chhappar Sanctuary. Asiatic elephant. India is the natural home of Asiatic elephant. According to IUCN, it is endangered due to shrinking forest habitat leading to rising man elephant conflict. Their number is declining. For conservation of them, establishment of cell to study forest fire prevention and elephant reserves in lockdown period. Forest ranger face problem in saving wildlife, remove its most invasive species lantana and eupatorium. The last species we have one-horned rhino. It is the largest of rhino species in India. They are mainly found in Assam, West Bengal and UP. According to IUCN, it is vulnerable now. In the lockdown period, also the poacher's eye on rhinos' horn. Conservation efforts used by government to conserve them are recently, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has begun a project to create DNA profiles of all rhinos in the country. National Rhino Conservation Strategy, in which the active engagement between India and Nepal to conserve them. Indian Rhino Vision 2020, launched in 2000 to attain a wild population of at least 3,000, spread over several protected areas in the Indian state of Assam by year 2020. Now over to Ms. Vanshika Sharma.
Rajasthan is a state in northern India with Jaipur as its capital. Rajasthan preserves its most precious gift given by nature, its wildlife with utmost care. In spite of having a large area's desert, it holds second position in the country when wildlife is concerned, as its little forest cover holds a large range of flora and fauna. We can say from being rich in culture, the rich flora and fauna composition contribute in a unique ecosystem. To create awareness about animals and birds, each of the 33 districts of Rajasthan has been represented by an animal mascot. Some major national parks in the Rajasthan are Kevladev National Park, Ranthambore National Park, Desert National Park, Mukandra Hills National Park, and Sariska National Park. Kevladev National Park, also known as Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, was a royal game reserve. It protects about 400 species of migratory and resident birds. Ranthambore National Park was also a game reserve and is a deciduous forest known for its large tiger population. Sariska National Park is a hunting ground of state of Alwar. Desert National Park is one of the last sites in which endangered Great Indian Bustard species can be found in good numbers. As a space crunch arrived due to territorial fights in some national parks, state government decided to resolve this arising problem by establishing its fourth tiger reserve, Ramghar Vishwadhari Wildlife Sanctuary in Bundi district. Here we mentioned various news related to the problem arising in the national park few years back and how efficiently Rajasthan Biodiversity Board deal to resolve them. As Rajasthan crash crunch hits Great Indian Bustard conservation in desert,
district. To resolve this problem, modified other underground cables have been allotted. By relocation of dangerous tigers and better habitat management resulted in flourishing of tigers in Sariska. Government resolved the problem of species crunch by establishing the 4th Tiger Reserve, as I told earlier. Galta Temple, a conservation temple located at Jaipur, which is home of hundreds of monkeys. No trip to India is complete without a camel safari in the Thar Desert. Here I mentioned the emergence of virus diversity in India. You guys can see in the table, these are some viruses emerged, listed among which SARS-CoV-2 is ongoing pandemic. On the basis of the laboratory evidences and conflicting evidences, here I mentioned how SARS-CoV-2 and SARS-CoV-2 entered the diversity channel by zonic and reverse zonic way, from animals to animal, animal to human, and human to animals too. On the basis of laboratory evidence and conflicting evidence, these are some animals responsible and not susceptible for the spread. Putative source of SARS-CoV-2 is bat, which further potential intermediate hosts are pangolin, camels, and other mammals. As Mother Earth got somehow relaxed by pressing the reset button during lockdown, to stop this pandemic, we should first stop wildlife consumption, trade, and destruction of nature. Now, I would like to over it to Ms. Pooja Agarwal.
India is endowed with rich biodiversity. To conserve this,
India is endowed with rich biodiversity. To conserve this biodiversity, Indian government established various protected areas. To conserve this map and graph depicts the increasing number of protected areas and which reflect the conservation efforts of Indian government. Plants are the sources of new chemical entities to develop a novel therapeutic agent. These are the some plants which show antiviral activity against a variety of human pathogenic viruses. For example, Withania somnifera, Argemona mexicana, which is widely used to treat COVID-19. COP13, it is the 13th conference on the conservation of migratory species, which was held at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. The theme of this conference, migratory species connect the planet, and we welcome them home. This summit brings together 1,200 delegates from over 110 countries to deliberate on the alarming decline of migratory species. Recently, the Indian government introduced a biological diversity amendment bill with the objective to simplify research process, streamline the patenting process, boosting the Indian medicine system, and so on. India is a country with large ethnic society. The ethnic people of India play a very vital role to preserve the biodiversity in and around the localities of their natural habitat. Tribal people are the best conservationists and the guardians of wildlife. Due to their magical religious belief that these natural habitats are the home of God and Goddess, they worship them and hence conserve them. With the conservation efforts of Soliga tribal community of Karnataka, the tiger population has been doubled in the Billi Rangaswamy Tiger Reserve, which is the only reserve in India where the tribal communities live in the core area. Another unique example of such conservation efforts can be seen in Rajasthan, the Bishnoi tribe. Due to their cultural reverence towards khejuri tree and desert wildlife, they protect them even at their cost of lives. Jeev Raksha is ingrained in them since their childhood. The traditional practices, conservation practices of indigenous community play a very important role to conserve the biodiversity. An excellent example can be seen in Dhwaj Sacred Grove, which is a treasure house of rare and endangered species. Gaj Yatra, it is a national campaign which is launched to protect India's national heritage animal, that is elephant, in 12 elephant ranges state. It aims to involve people from all walks of life to protect and conserve elephants. As we have seen, the conservation efforts of Indian government, which was formulated as the result of the convention which India signed and the organization of which India is a member. These are the some organizations which play a very vital role to conserve the biodiversity. Global Environment Facility, the funding agency which provides funds to the conventional country. It is a $1 billion pilot program which was initiated to assist and promote the sustainable development of the environment. International Union for Conservation of Nature, it is the world's largest and oldest environmental organization. The aim of this organization to prepare a red list of threatened species and make conservation plans according to it. Biofin, it is the UNDP initiative in India. It majorly focuses on the development of the financial network in India so that the government can make conservation plans and can achieve targets by 2030. National Biodiversity Authority, it was created in 2003 with the objective to protect traditional knowledge and biological resources of India. Now over to Ms. Anjali Pandit.
Biodiversity can't be maintained by protecting a few species in a zoo or by preserving green belts or national parks. Our world is evolving without consideration, and the result is a loss in biodiversity. The words from the father of biodiversity, E.O. Wilson, says that we should preserve every scrap of biodiversity as priceless, while we learn to use it and come to understand what it means to humanity. Biodiversity is a key so we can all live in peace. There are different forms and streams, but have the same life and same dreams. From the smallest ant to the tallest tree, from the bird flying in the sky to the fish swimming in the sea, each and every creature is a part of biodiversity family. So, it is our sole responsibility that we protect our family by conserving biodiversity. At the end, I would like to invite everyone to visit the biodiversity of India with the quote, Padharo Mhare Desh. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And the paper is now open for discussion. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, then I have one question. Today, you discussed the biodiversity in India, mainly focusing on the vertebrates and the animals and birds. And you slightly mentioned about plants, but plants is quite important, especially some plants generates medicines. So my question is, some plants in India is also in danger, like animals. And are there any strategy to protect the plants in India?
There are some medicinal plants which are endangered.
Mm-hmm. So are there any in the case of the animals, there are many strategies to protect them. But are there any strategy to protect plants in India?
Yes, sir. In India, the first to protect the herbs or the medicinal plants, the first biodiversity park to protect them are established in Himalaya.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about the tribal community in the last part of your talk. And as I told, plants often generate the medicines. So it is not directly related to today's talk, but are there any activity to take a communication with tribes to ask their ethnic medicine plants?
Which is a medicinal plant which is used to
Sanjeevani or Rhodila, which is found in Himalaya region, and it is very important for it has medicinal properties,
Mhm.
and which is widely used by our tribal communities.
Okay. So I want to ask a question here. Okay. You have a questions. Please check the chat.
I want to give the answer. Okay, so I want to give the answer of this question as they ask. Is it really important to establish indigenous religious traditional methods on biodiversity? I think it's a better way to conserve of animals. Intention, it doesn't depend on the intention, like by settling up by connecting or conservation strategies with religion is a good way to conserve our wildlife and plant species. Thank you.
And they are still yeah.
I want to add one more thing that in our country, a state Nagaland, which is 80% or 88% of the land is under the tribal community or it is privately owned. But if we talk about the conservation, then it is most active state in the wildlife conservation. It is rich in biodiversity and it is also included in one of the hotspot states.
Maybe Sensei, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think there are two questions. I think first is about how to audit, and the second is how to protect endangered species. But just not directly, Biani group answer the last question, but there's two questions remaining above that one.
So could you please
Yes,
answer?
sir. So I would like to answer the first question, like any method to audit about the degradation of biodiversity. So firstly, we need to focus on the cause that is responsible for the degradation of biodiversity. So it is the human activity majorly that causes the biodegradation of biodiversity. So we need to focus on increasing the ways, or we need to make changes in our lifestyle to get our biodiversity more impressive and the way it was in the starting of the life. So we need to change our lifestyle.
And may I continue? And if there is some problem like this, any kind of the punishment, something like that from the society or from the government, if someone destroy or damage kind of the biodiversity. For example, someone burn the forest for certain purpose and the biodiversity already collapsed. So how to punish this one?
Yes, sir. There should be regulations that should be made by the government. Okay. And it is the responsibility of every citizen to follow that. And there should be punishments, like not very severe one, but there should be, which will make the people follow the regulations.
Okay, thank you. And the next from Udayana also, in how to protect our shit. Yeah. What method are used to protect endangered species? Or maybe it's already answered? I don't know. Hello, Mr. Perry Ardiansa.
Sir, I want to give answer.
Okay.
Stop poaching and establishment of various national parks and wildlife sanctuaries to protect endangered species. And
so besides that, we have legal provisions in India also. For example, India Forest Act in 1927, Wildlife Protection Act in 1972, India Forest Conservation Act 1980. And India also signed the National Convention on the Biological Diversity. So as a result, it created a National Biodiversity Authority in 2003 to protect the endangered species.
So have you answered the last question from Udayana University?
I think it's already
answered.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Okay, if there is no question, I'd like to close today's program. So all the programs planned today have been finished. And I'm very impressed with your great presentations. And I'm very looking forward to the presentation next week. Bibin Sensei, do you have any announcement?
Please also announce to the participant to open the camera, the video.
Could you turn on the camera?
Okay, I give 5 minutes maybe. Last week just 2 minutes is not enough, so because the others still in preparation, or I don't know. Okay, please open again. Yeah. So I hope 100%. And please set up your position. So you see there's still, yeah, not yet. Okay, I will give, so still 4 minutes remaining. Wait a moment. Okay. Okay, please be patient. Wait a moment. Again. Okay. Yeah, 2 minutes. Yeah. Today I think a little bit better. 80% already open. Okay, the first page is only one, and the second. Okay, the last 1 minute, please smile. Smile, yeah. Thank you. Okay, To-sensei, thank you very much. Everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then thank you very much, everyone. And let's close today's program. And please stay healthy and see you next week. Bye-bye.